Hey, so welcome everybody to a video. It's a bit different than usual. Normally you'd find me doing live streams and everything else on here. Back in 2020 I gained my first exposure to the Persona series of Persona 5 Royal, and from there I've gone through many different Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games. For those who know me personally, you also know I'm a huge fan of Persona, and when I saw this back in June 2021, I was very giddy with excitement. Essentially, there was a crossover announced between the anime mobile game Love Live School Order Project and the game series Persona, where many of the characters were going to be representing Personas. This video, I want to take a quick look at these and give you my personal takes on the designs. All of the links and images here come courtesy of the article I saw on Persona Central. I will link in the description for these. But first up, we have the main member of the group, which is Muse, and that is Hanako Kosaka. And she is essentially representing Palladium. First of all, this makes perfect sense because Hanako Kosaka is the main protagonist of Love Live School Order Project, the first of the anime series, and Palladium, of course, is used by Aegis. With Aegis being a protagonist in a sense, for those of you who played the second part of Persona 3 FES, this makes a perfect sense. So in terms of representing the Persona here and what's my thoughts on the design, first of all, the actual dress is superb. They've really nailed the look of Palladium with the contrast of the gold and the blue. We also have a really cute feature where the headdress on top of the helmet for Palladium is actually representing Honoka's side ponytail, which is her trademark look from the anime, so major extra points for that. The only thing I'm a bit critical here of is that we don't have anything for the actual, like the spear, the gun of Palladium. I'd love to maybe holding a mic stand, so she's got that kind of like, almost like a weapon representative. I was going to do this originally as a tier list guide, but unfortunately I've not been able to get the tier list thing to work. So, in absence of the tier list, I think this is a great start, and I definitely give this an A rank. It looks perfect, and she represents the character well. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for number 2, Katori Minami. This character really drew the short straw here with Johanna. I wasn't expecting her to do the whole Tetsuo the Iron Man anime thing here of making her have wheels all of a sudden, so that was definitely out. But in terms of the design, we've got like the metal corset, which is a bit too similar to Makoto's armour from the main game anyway. We've got the goggles, which is a neat reference to the retro motorcycle look, but I don't think there's enough detail on them really. And while we've got the nice ribbon flow for the colour contrast, it really just feels more like a biker costume, an actual representation for Johanna. We don't have, for instance, the windshield chest where we've got the facial bit of Johanna. We've not got any like nuclear symbols for the elements she represents. There's a few things here that are a bit lacking. I think it's one of those, the ingredients are very minimal, you're not going to get much of a recipe out of it. It's a shame because Katara is a really interesting character. In terms of theming, it also doesn't work though, because Katara is not the student council president, nor the student council vice president. So it doesn't make sense for her to be using Makoto's persona here. And she also doesn't quite have the same insecurities as Makoto does. She's very crafty, very capable into making things herself. Doesn't really fit the mould, unfortunately. Bit of a shame. If I was to grade this on the tier list ranking, I hate to do it, Katori fans, but it'd be a D. I'm sorry. Let's move swiftly on to Umi Sonoda. This one really confused me because Umi is representing Konohana Sakuya. Now, Umi is an archer. So why is she not representing Yukari with Io, considering she uses a bow and arrow? But then I remembered that unlike Yukari, Umi can actually hit a barn door. Cue all the Yukari fans, including me, to hate me for that one, but that's the truth, sorry to say. So in terms of the representation of Konohana Sakuya, well, first of all, because she does the archery thing, she also is from a very traditional family. Does a lot of calligraphy drawing using the brushes, she wears dojo robes and she trains. So it does make sense for her to have Yukiko's persona in that respect with the family in the family business side of it. In terms of representation, I absolutely love this. The design is very similar in many ways to the outfit that the characters wear in the song Happy Maker at the end of the second season of Love Live School Idol Project, the anime. And I love how what they've done is, to get the wings, they've made like these lovely cheerleader-esque pom-pom sleeves. So it really fits the mold of both the idol and the traditional persona for Kanohana Sakuya. This is a fantastic design, really good interpretation. On terms on the sale list, it's an S. It's top tier, it's fantastic. So speaking of Yukari though, we find ourselves here with Hanako Koizumi. This one I'm really split down the middle on. I really think what they've done well here is to incorporate the kind of like the bull's features at the top of the dress, where you've got the black stripe and almost like the eyelids for the top of Io. And you've got this really nice white and pink pastels design, which is more similar to the kind of clothes Yukari wears, both as her C's uniform and her summer uniform, in terms of a casual look. I think that's great. I really love the boots with those kind of almost like clasps on them, like they're almost like restraints, as if it's kind of linking in to the fact that Yukari wears a choker and everything else. I really like that. The issue I've got though is those horns. It reminds me way too much of what Sumire gets up to in Love Live Superstar with her giant isopod clip, for those of you who haven't seen it. And if you haven't, you're welcome. That curse thing is going to stick in your memory for a long time. I really like the design here. I think it's a really cool design, but it just slips south. It's not quite hitting the bar. Much like with the initial one done by Hanako, I'd put this as a safe A. It's pretty good. Then we have Rin as Tomoe. Yes, yes, yes. This is what I'm talking about. This is fantastic. Rin is very similar in many ways to Chie. She's a hyperball of energy. She goes over the top in training. She's dead excitable. She's massively cheerful. And the armor is basically a one-to-one recreation almost of Tomoe. No, we don't have the hood. That's not really going to fit in with the idol thing. It doesn't fit the aesthetic, so I'm kind of glad that's gone, to be honest. Would I have liked to have had maybe a stand to represent the scythe? Yes, I would. But because the character fits the persona so well and fits the persona user so well, I'm not going to deduct points here. This is S+. This is top tier. This is fantastic. This is easily my favourite so far. Absolutely beautiful. And then we have Maki as Carmen from Persona 5. Now, Arn, who uses Carmen in Persona 5, has a very kind of like exchange student, it girl kind of mentality. Maki is a, yeah, whatever kind of attitude, but also very rich. So there is a bit of that in her in many ways. And in terms of the interpretation of Carmen, this is just absolutely spot on. There's not much to be said. The design for Carmen was already excellent, with the big red dress and the hearts and the spiralling Celestia Ludenberg-esque kind of hair drills. I do love the fact they've even referenced Shadow Arn by having the cat ears on top of Maki. I think that's really, really interesting. They've put that nod in there as well. This is brilliant. Really, really good. And I might be sounding like a broken record, but this is an S-class. This is spot on. Then we have Nico as Milady. And no, I'm not going to do the cursed introduction of Nico Yazawa. I'm not going to do it. I've not even got my camera on for a reason. Now, in terms of the design here, this one's a bit of an interesting one, because Nico is known to be very much about portraying another character. So if anyone fits using a persona, it is Nico. But she's not really got the same sense of like responsibilities or eloquence that Haru has. She is like the big sister to 3 younger children. She does that role very well outside of her idol. So there is a definite crossover in that respect. But I don't quite have the same sense of elegance about her. Be that as it may, the dress, nothing more need be said about it. It's absolutely gorgeous. That's definitely the kind of thing I'd love to see anyone walk around a con with. I like the fact that they've gone for the fan in her hand to represent the back of Milady's collar. I think that's really cool as well. The only thing is, where's the mask? She's on about always create. She even says in the anime, have you spent time creating personas for yourselves? So if there's anyone who's going to put the mask on, it's Nico. Sorry to say, it's going to be an A. You had a missed opportunity. You were right there, right at the finish line, and then you pulled up short. Such a shame, but it's awesome either way. Then we have Nozomi Tojo as Sukuna Hikona. I can never pronounce that one. I always find it really difficult. It's an odd choice, this one, in many respects, because this actual design is very similar to the outfits worn by Aqua in their song Happy Party Train. So it feels a bit like it's gone too much into that side. I do like the flowing cape to represent the wings of Sukuna Hikona. I think that's awesome. But in general, it just feels a bit too much like a regular idol costume from Nozomi. She doesn't look bad. She represents the persona quite well. And again, maybe is it the absence of the helmet? Is it the absence of the lightsaber? I don't know. It's a good interpretation for an idol outfit, but it just seems a bit too functional. It's not quite got the drama I'd expect for a performer on stage. It's very good, but it just stops short. Such a shame. Ranking wise, I'm being a bit harsh here, but I'm going to give it a B. Maybe if we'd have had the long tails, like the long twin tail plaits, like the character Tokuhikawa has in Danganronpa, to represent the back of the wings, maybe had something like a torch or one of those light pens that you see at Crowd's glow sticks. Maybe something like that would have taken us to an A rank, but as it is, a solid B, good effort, but only middling. Ellie. The Student Council President using Professor Leia. The persona of the Student Council President, Mitsuru Kirijo. Well, instantly you're in the right ballpark there. In terms of design, this is one of the most straight but done really well. I love the iron corset that they've given her, but they've also gone for the idolish skirts rather than the long pants, just to give it a bit of a mix between the looks. I really like that. The fact they've kept the chains, both in between the tights and also on the shoulders, is really good. And the crown, that just really suits perfectly well. There's something about that takes this to the top of the cake. It's perfectly on point for the character, the Student Council President using the Council President's persona, the adaptation to the stage. I can imagine this outfit being a brilliant one used to work for certain numbers that are quite dominant in tone. In terms of the songs like No Brand Girls, for example, this is a good shout. Definitely an A. But, as a surprise, we also got designs for the second series, Live Sunshine, for Aqua. And first up is Chica Takami as Psyche. First of all, I am applauding the fact that they had the gumption to give the central protagonist character of the second series the persona used by the Shadow, which is an offshoot of the protagonist from the first series. That's right, Chica is Psyche, the persona used by Metis. And of course, those who play the answer will know the whole story about Metis and Aegis. The interpretation here I really, really love. The dress has been made almost like a wedding gown, with the flowers. I love the detailing of how they got the flowers standing out on their own on top of the ridges, which is not something you see as much in Psyche herself. I love the boots with those really long grids to shore up the fact that Psyche has no legs in the original design. The sleeveless gloves, so that you can see the break between the shoulder and the shoulder joint to represent Psyche as well. I even love the little flowers that they've got hanging in the side of Chica's braids to go for the actual very long tendrils of Psyche. I've always had a soft spot for this persona. I've always thought it was awesome. I've always had a soft spot for Metis as well. And Chica's my favourite character in all of Live. So this is S+. Is that personally biased? Yes. Yes, it is. No. I don't care. Moving on. We have Yo Watanabe here as Sandra, the persona for Kasumi from Persona 5 Royal. This is an interesting one because Yo has a very almost like tomboyish sailor kind of attitude. So for her to be given the persona of the sort of basically Cinderella, the glass girl, is a bit of an odd match. But Yo is the dressmaker and costumes designer for Aqua, and I could definitely see her putting the kind of interpretation she's done here. All those lovely constant crossing tessellations to the diamonds is fantastic. The little gold weave of the pattern on the top of the hoop skirt is beautiful. It's interesting also they've got instead of the black sleeves, we've got the white sleeves, which is similar to Chica, which gives it a bit more of the wing interpretation rather than the sleeves of the actual persona. I do like that. The cute ribbon bow as a way to tie into Sandra's top hair is really nice too. If it wasn't for Rin being in the original one, I would have actually loved Yo to have done an interpretation of Tomoe. But as it stands, Tomoe was already taken, so Sandra is a good fit. Not quite as grimy as some of the other personas I would normally go with for her, but for a main character persona, this is perfect. Definitely a grade A. Absolutely perfect. Rico. Doing the persona of Himiko, used by Rise from Persona 4. I'm actually quite disappointed by this one. I love the little satellite headband. I think they've done that well. I even like the little tails that hang off the side to represent the almost gangster sleeve scarf that Himiko herself has. I just don't understand why we've got a one-piece knee-length dress rather than actually going fully down. Because of course if we back up, looking at Chica, she goes all the way down to her ankles. So it's not like they've not done this in the other designs. And I think it would have been nice with Rico being the pianist and composer for Aqua. It would have been really nice to see a few more piano motifs in there. We could have had, for example, the white and the black of the sleeves and the dress resembling piano keys. We could have had possibly a bit of music notation in the clasps on the buttons just to fully bring Rico's character to the persona. And again, the long trail. They had a great idea, but it just fell a bit short. Very similar to what happened with Nozomi. It's a reinterpretation, but it's just not quite reinterpreted enough. Solid B grade. Ruby Kurosawa. Everyone's favourite shy member of the group. What have they done to you? First of all, you can see quite clearly they've had to try and make her Persona outfit cover up because Pandora, used by one of the characters in Persona 5 Strikers, it doesn't really leave much to imagination. I like what they've tried to do with the dress being like open as 4 pieces, which is, again, what Pandora's box is meant to be about, but it just looks like a really weird attempt at a dress. It just doesn't quite work. I do like the collared boots. I think that works really well. And I really like the little hair bubbles which have the boxes of Pandora. I think that's really well done. But the rest of it just... it looks like too much of a bizarre clash between like a wannabe cape, a wannabe dress. It's just not right. I'm so sorry, but they've really not done enough with you there, Ruby. You tried your best. You did your Rubesty. But unfortunately, the designers did not follow suit. Great to see, I'm afraid. Hanamaru. Using the design inspired by the Persona Lucia from Persona 3. Now, Lucia is the persona by Huka Yamagishi, and Huka is a really quiet, bit of an engineer, but also wannabe cook. Hanamaru is not an engineer, but she's very much a quiet girl who sits in the library a lot of reading, and also does love her food. So this is definitely a really good fit in terms of that kind of character relationship. And it's unlikely for movement that you could possibly have the full ball that Lucia has, but I love the way they've made this almost like umbrella hoop skirt as a way to incorporate it, and then have the loose adapted skirt underneath so it kind of like hides the illusion that there's no full ball. I think that's done really, really well. I did say on the a couple of entries ago how there's no reason to not have the all the way to the floor dress here. Here there is. If we take a look at Lucia's design, you can quite clearly see we've got the ball here and then the train forming off the bottom. You would not be able to move in that. It's just not possible. So making it top heavy instead, so we've got like the almost 2D version of the ball, and then having the hang skirts is good. Could this have gone lower maybe? Yes, it possibly could. I do like what they've done with the shoes and the knee-high socks though. I think that's really good. And I even like how they've tied it into the bandages of Lucia, but not completely covered Hanamaru's face. Right now, if you had a face like that, you'd think you'd just suffer some really severe sunburn. So taking that out of the equation is not a bad thing. It might have been better if there's a few more bandages, perhaps, but overall, I really quite like this design. It's a solid A. Really good interpretation. We have Yoshino. Yohane! Yes, the little devil herself, Yohane, she likes to be called. And she is here adopting the design inspired by Ariadne, the persona from Persona 4 Arena. I do actually like what they've done here. They've kept the armoured style with the edge. We've got the edge of her side bob, for example. We've got this almost futuristic earpiece that's been adopted here. I love the shoulder pads with the armour plating, the grids, that's the cool thing. But it's interesting how they've gone for a more almost heart-style centre and like a hoodie instead of an actual full-blown cape. That's quite interesting. It's not quite as mechanical a look. We've still got, for instance, the legs don't look like mechanical parts. I'd like to have seen a few more of the designs here, for instance, adopted a bit more, so it was a bit more obvious. But I do love the fact that they've got the weave from here in the back of the cloak and on the front. That's really good. That they've incorporated the ephemeral weave behind the persona. And for that alone, I'm giving it an A, because it ties the fantastical really well to the functional. I think that's a great design. It's simple, but effective. But speaking of mechanical, this is fantastic. Mari reinterpreting Orpheus from Persona 3 Portable with this particular version. And there is very little I can critique here. First of all, I love how we've got the little hairpiece for the harp of Orpheus. That's adorable. That is so cute. I think the actual way they've kept the mechanical look with the legs, though, we've got these almost like slip-on extra tights, so to speak, to tie into the mechanical top gear of Orpheus on top of the functional almost jumpsuit-ass bottom. We've even got a fully rendered design of the actual heart of Orpheus as well. This is fantastic. It's a really cute interpretation. And again, you could imagine if there was a song about being a puppet on a string or an awakened machine, this would be a fantastic design for that number on stage. I adore it. This is brilliant. S-class. No doubt about it. Kanon. Well, what do I say here? It's functional. There's not much you could really do with Prometheus, with Necromonicon, to be fair. I almost said Prometheus then, the evolved version of the Persona. What am I talking about? Necromonicon, I do like the fact that they've kept the shape of the UFO with the skirt, and they've gone all in on the weird, freaky computer designs on the front. The matching boots and laces, I think, is really cool. And the little adoption of the bat wings for the top motif. So they've got all the pieces here, for sure. Kanan's a very sporty, very outgoing kind of character. She's not in any way introverted or anything. She doesn't quite fit for Taba. That's more, as I was saying before with Hanamaru and Fuka. It's much more her kind of character. I do like this design, but it's only really functional. It seems to tick the boxes. It doesn't really do enough to interpret it as an idol outfit to me. I'm going to give this a grade B. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. Then finally we have Dayakura Sawa, the student council president, and they've given her the persona Kaguya from Persona 4. I I'm on the fence on this one. I'm really on the fence. I don't know which way to go with my decision on this. The things I love, first of all, these lovely little detailed coloured ribbons to show the underside of the gigantic... Is that a set of wings? Is it a huge hood? Is it an island? Whatever it is that Kagi is dragging behind her, I really like the fact they've tied that in with the edges of the ribbons here. I love that we've got the really thick sleeves as well, which almost suggests that they are the wide, broadened piece that Kagi is carrying. I do also like this more tubular dress design that they've got. It's almost like that's the only way I can really describe it. I think that fits well. But then we've got the bunny ears, which just don't look very good. The way they're drawn doesn't really fit right. I don't like the gold band. That seems a bit lazy. Then we've got this almost like Shadow Futaba neck talk, which I don't understand why it's there. It just doesn't seem to be fitting as part of it, really. But then we've also got these lovely ribbons which tie beautifully with the underside. I really don't know where to go with this. It has all the parts, and it also has some really inspired bits. But at the same time, I don't really like it. So let's judge it without personal preference. Let's judge it by what it represents. She's the student council president. The persona doesn't fit for that one, so it does lose a few points there. However, it does get all the other bits pretty much right. It would be unfair for me to go any lower than B on this. I think it would be very unfair if I go any lower than B. I originally thought it was going to be a much lower rank, but now that I think about it and been fair and judged it better, I'd say that this is a good way to finish. So yes, that is indeed the final one of the Persona designs. That is all the Persona girls, well, I say Persona girls, Love Live girls, representing Personas. And with Superstar only just airing into its second season, and Nijigasaki only just finishing its second season, I would love for Sega and Atlus to do this again, because we've had the main characters represented. So why don't we get some Persona users that aren't main characters? Who wouldn't want to see someone representing the Personas that are featured in other games, such as, for instance, Vesta, used by Yoshino in Persona 1 and 2, Artemis, used by Maya in Persona 2. There's so many out there that it'd be interesting to see what we do. There's so many other things. With the 25th anniversary of Persona still yet to fully reach its climax, I'd love that to be one of the things they do towards the end. But in a nutshell, this is Love Live Persona crossover, and you can go check out Persona Central if you want to see more detailed artwork for these. And I do believe these are cards available in the game. Happy hunting, and good luck, because you're very much going to need it.